Hello, everybody. We heard a lot today about transformation and even reinventing ourselves. I want to speak about the accelerating of change by data-driven technology. I want to talk to you this from an industry perspective coming from Bridgestone. Actually, coming from Bridgestone Mobility Services. And what that means, you see here. This is a little bit the road where a startup company and an industry-graded company, one of the largest tire and rubber companies in the world, globally presented, found each other together and started accelerating this change or digital transformation. 1999, a smaller German company called Data Factory invented web-based fleet management, mainly for commercial cars, connected cars all the time. Can you imagine, 20 years ago? And this company grew up, became a leader in Germany, became a leader in that business in the Central Europe. In 2005, TomTom, probably the most people know here, consumer electronics company that democratized the navigation world, decided, in addition to their consumer space, to add a B2B channel and board Data Factory and with this web fleet. Under the brand TomTom Telematics, this business has grown to the #1 fleet management company in Europe and has furthermore expanded to US, to Latin America, Southern Africa, Australia, New Zealand. And a few years ago, Bridgestone has also recognized there needs to be a transformation. The digital age has been coming, yes, and the whole process needs to be adapted. They started with a digital garage, a digital lab, where they developed a digital twin for their tires. And I'm quite happy that the tire here on this picture is very prominent, because it's the only element of the car that connects the car with the road, brings energy to movement, and is a very essential element of safety on the road. Anyway, they started with their own initiative in Bridgestone, but realized that there needs to be acceleration. It's too slow to do everything themselves. And so Bridgestone acquired from TomTom its division TomTom Telematics last year, and this became now Bridgestone Solutions, where we're looking into helping an industry-graded company to move forward. What is this all about? We're talking a lot about connectivity. This is not the map. Not a map from Google, not a map from TomTom. These little dots are all connected cars. Real-time commercial cars are driving on average 6 hours on a day on the road. And these are 1.2 million cars already managed on a daily life in real time, minute by minute, by Webfleet, and meanwhile also by solutions like Total Tire Care and Mobox from Bridgestone. What is actually the challenge of accelerating this digital transformation? It's on one hand, as said, one of the biggest tire and rubber companies in the world with very solid performance, very solid industry-graded processes. And on the other side, a company that has done for 20 years connected cars, digital processes, micro-billing, software as a service, name it as you want, but it is a digital mindset. And bringing this together now under the brand of Bridgestone Mobility Solution is actually an interesting exercise and an interesting challenge. Because we heard it before, there's two different mindsets need to come together. And it triggers also a cultural change, because otherwise such transformation or reinventions are not happening. And I missed a bit today, a little bit this customer centricity, because the difference is when you're producing cars or you're producing products, that usually these products are sold by channels, by Amazon, by car dealerships, or whatever that is. But if you enter a service business, you're mostly in a direct contact, day by day, with your end customer. And that is a cultural mind shift that you need to become more customer-centric. The customer experience comes into life, and your customer value feeds back immediately to the company that delivers the service. Because if the service quality is not good and doesn't create the right values, it at the end returns back that the customer is immediately changing to another service provider. What you usually cannot do if you have bought a car, you keep that car for a while, but you cannot so easily switch to a new car. Of course you can, you sell and buy a new one, but then you lose money. So all this customer intimacy, is customer obsession that actually sits in service companies is really essential to be successful in the digital service-driven world. And that is for all mobility services true as for other digital-driven services. But the good thing in this stuff is because of data, we gain a lot of insight. What customers do, what they use, what they like, what they dislike, like, and we need to use that customer-centric to drive the products and the services forward. Actually, what we're doing and what we're bringing more and more to Bridgestone is from a data collection and data platforms, and of course, data analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, to consolidate everything what that brings with an easy-to-use user interface in an easy-to-use customer interaction. And this easy of use, I have to admit, I inherited from the TomTom consumer electronics world because it was all about making navigation easy for everybody. One of the products what we have created jointly together and we commoditize and bring it to market are actually tire wear model. What is that, a tire wear model? I mean, you know, tires wearing out. Depends very much how much you drive, how much you accelerate, what type of roads you drive, and so on. And why is this so important? You would say from a passenger car, yeah, you know every 3 years or whatever you drive and miles, you look after the tire, or your tire fitter tells you you need to change the tire because it's weared out. Okay. But you know probably, or you don't, that of the most breakdowns of commercial cars on motorways are driven by tire wearing or tire damaging problems. So if we, with data, can anticipate when the tire wears down or damages, why he was driven over thousands of potholes before, or he has scratched the side of a road or something like this, what doesn't lead immediately to a tire damage, but at a certain moment the tire goes flat. And the costs of such a breakdown in a commercial way are immense. So if we can predict that and can tell in an organized way by digital systems when this tires needs to be weared out and supported and replaced before, it's a huge advantage. And we have done this, and we brought that model, this AI-driven models on the Microsoft Connected Vehicle Cloud, where we want to monetize this also with a broader scope of OEMs and so on. But what is actually behind? You know, case in the automotive world is a common theme, connected automotive shared electric. We spoke a lot about today, and that is driving the fast change in the automotive industry. If you look into what is that, mainly the behavioral changes, shared economy, we spoke a lot about this, but also the digitization. The digitization, I think, is the main driver of the revolution that we have actually in a very short time frame. But what is actually behind? Why we are sometimes so surprised? There's a simple fact. Technology is exponential. Humans think linear. We can make a very simple test. If I say we're walking 30 steps, and every step is a meter, you can tell me all in a millisecond that you're walking 30 meters. Now do the same experiment with an exponential step. So you're walking 1 meter, 2 meter, 4 meter, 8 meter, and so on. Same thing, 30 of that replications. How far we would walk? I guess nobody in this room can tell me how far it is, and you might be surprised. It's 500,000 kilometers, or 13 times around the equator of the world. We as humans, we cannot imagine the exponential function. But the background is that technology is exponential. And what you see on the right bottom is actually the usual behavior. There is new technology coming into play. It develops exponentially. And we remember maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago when all the OEMs have smiled about the company that put the computer with 4 wheels in motion. I'm talking about Tesla, obviously. We have smiled about that we have made bets when this company will die. It hasn't. It has an amazing market capitalization, and it's growing and ramping up. And I think a lot of us in the automotive world are in a catch-up mode. Why is that? Because we completely underestimated the technology acceleration curve. And Tesla is maybe short behind the breakthrough, but the acceleration is happening. And now everybody's in a catch-up mode, hiring 10,000s of developers to catch up in this way. Who comes a little bit from technology and about computing power, Moore's law has described what it is. Technology for 100 years have been developed exponentially. The computing power is doubling every 18 to 24 months, and it keeps going. What will happen for $1,000 today, a computer can do what a mouse brain can do. In 10 years, 2030, for $1,000, a computer can completely do what a human can do. And in 2050, 30 years from now, for $1,000, in case this continues, and there's no doubt that it is not continuing in this way, for $1,000 computing capacity, you can do what all humans on this earth can do, what will be at that time estimated 10 billion people. Quite scary, I have to admit, but this trend is unbroken. And actually, the sequencing of DNA has even more accelerated as the standard exponential curve. And the other element what comes by data-driven technologies into play are data. We spoke a lot about today already and yesterday. 90% of all the data that exists in the world, since Christie Birth, with all the great libraries, everything was created. 90% of all the data in the world have been created and processed in the last 2 years only. If you look at this, the world is changing really very fast. In the future, the big will not beat the small anymore. It will be the fast beat the slow. And actually, the only thing what you can do is, in the best way, to predict the future, considering our inability to understand the exponential function, to try to build the future, to try to make that happen. But actually, the biggest risk that we can do is not to think big enough. Thank you very much.